Welcome to the newest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. In today's video, we'll take a look back at the weekend at Michigan, and boy, do we have a lot to cover, including some interesting comments during media availabilities by Carson Hocevar on being compared to the Intimidator, Ryan Blaney sharing his thoughts on Hocevar and his aggressive driving, plus Bubba Wallace getting in an uncomfortable exchange with reporters and refusing to answer a question about his future. We'll also discuss the big news announced just before the race on Sunday with Ram coming back to the Truck Series in 2026. And of course, we'll talk about that race, which was, in my opinion, the best race of the year with plenty of action, including a squirrel getting murdered on pit road, at least according to the killer's description of what happened. Some hot tempers from Gibbs and Kyle Larson, and Denny Hamlin getting his third win of the year. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about the post-race, including comments from Carl Edwards on Kyle Busch being jealous of Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson addressing his frustration with Hamlin and Ty Dillon, and Heather Gibbs addressing her son's behavior. However, before we get to that, let's go back to Saturday morning and driver media availabilities. As we talked about on the channel last week, because it was a hot topic of conversation, Carson Hocevar was one of the featured drivers this week set to visit with the media on the podium. Unsurprisingly, they talked about his aggressive driving, and then he was asked an interesting question.
Are you the new Intimidator, and do you feel comfortable with that characterization?
I mean, if I win 7 championships, I would potentially want to, whatever. But, it's obviously, if you're going to get compared to one guy, that's, the guy, and, endorsements from Dale Jr., everybody. But I don't think I'm new anything. I think I'm new me. I think that's, everything about me is, real. Like, I'm not trying to, play a part or try to fit a role or trying to pretend to be anybody, that's for everybody else to decide, what they get and perceive of me, but I know who I am, and ultimately, I want to be known as me, and sometimes that leads to comparisons.
So obviously his aggressive driving is making an impression with the fans. Many love him for his aggressiveness. Well, as you might imagine, the drivers in the garage don't feel the same. Take Ryan Blaney, for example.
Aggressive, clean driving, and reckless driving. And do you think the attention Hocevar has been getting is good for the sport?
I mean, everyone's line is different. I can't really speak for anybody else. I mean, always in my mind, my father raised me. He raced for a long time, so I had that going for me, that he kind of was able to teach me like the do's and don'ts. And I've been chewed out a lot when I was younger for doing the wrong thing and being overly aggressive and costing somebody else. My dad chewed my ass out when I did that. I did it a few times in late models when I was like 13. And, he said it right. Like, he set the line. He said, this is wrong. Like, you do not race this way. This is just how it is. And like, it was one of those situations where like I'm racing someone hard and I made a mistake. Like, I slipped up and I spun him out, and it wasn't intentional, but even like those mistakes, Dad would really make me clean up like right away. And that's just how his dad raised him. So that's what his, kind of thinking was right. I guess in my mind, like, hard racing is fantastic. Everyone races hard. Contact is going to happen. I think it's an issue if it happens repetitively, like a lot. I think that's when it starts becoming an issue. Like, do you learn from your mistakes? You can say you're sorry all you want, but if you don't learn from them and make a change, like, then everyone thinks you're lying, and you don't feel sorry about that. So, I mean, two guys are racing and they're bumping and whatever, but like, to me, over the line is like, if you get run over in the rear bumper and you get spun out and wrecked, then you have a brake pedal. We ran into that guy. And I've read some stuff this week, and people were like, well, Stenhouse could have cut him a break. I'm like, how can Stenhouse cut him a break? I don't understand. I think the 77 could have cut him a break. If you're going to talk about brakes, I don't even think that situation was cutting somebody a break. That was just getting run over. So, I mean, hey, he's a young guy. All of us have been young. We've all been aggressive. Everyone has a heavy right foot when they get going, and that's good. I think he's a very, very talented race car driver. Like, he's one of the best guys out there. it's hard to teach speed. I think it's just he has to refine a little bit what he does. I don't think he has to change who he is because this is what got him here, but I think he's got to possibly think of some situations that he's been in and just try to learn from them, and that's really all you can do. So I don't really critique anybody. I'm not critiquing him at all. That's just kind of my stance on it is when guys keep spinning off the front of your bumper, that becomes an issue. And I just I'm not a huge fan of that. I've been a part of it. I got turned at Atlanta, getting run into from behind, and it's like, how many times are you going to keep doing this till you learn? So we'll see.
I understand Blaney's frustration. That makes sense, especially considering how he was brought up in racing by his dad. But honestly, I thought the most interesting comment the 2023 champion had to say was when he suggested Hocevar is very talented and he already considers him one of the best drivers out there. As I said last week, I think we will see Hocevar in victory lane this year, and the way things have been going, I think it's sooner rather than later. There was another story from media availabilities that I wanted to talk about, and that was an uncomfortable exchange between Bubba Wallace and reporters. As you likely heard last week, the courts ruled in favor of NASCAR in its lawsuit with 2311, which basically means that 2311 teams will be unchartered and as a result won't guarantee A, that they automatically qualify for every race, and B, will receive lower amounts of purse money. The ruling also could potentially affect the future of drivers Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. Naturally, reporters wanted to know about this from the drivers, and this is what happened.
Focus on fast cars today, fellas, so that's the question you're going to get, Jordan.
I'm going to ask anyway.
And, answer. Yeah.
I like complicated.
We already did. What did Kyle Busch say? I'm here so I don't get fined, and everything's great, right? There you go.
Would you see?
Are you concerned about the future?
Everything's great. You know the answer already. You can let Denny comment on that stuff. So you're not going to get an answer that you want to hear from me. So.
Can I ask this? Do you pay attention to everything going on, or you just it's noise to you and you don't even?
Just go out and race. That's what I pay attention to, dog. So.
There are your contract negotiations being stalled at
Come on now. Let's talk about Michigan, dog. You ain't getting no comment. Come on. Jesus Christ.
Now, I understand Wallace's frustration with Bob asking the question again. If it were me, I wouldn't have asked again because Wallace made it clear from the start that he wasn't going to talk about it and referred everyone to Denny Hamlin. But Bob pushed him on the topic anyway, just because he wanted an answer to his question. It was definitely an uncomfortable situation, but that sometimes happens in the media center. Moving on to practice and qualifying, and there was one funny moment during the broadcast that I had to bring up, and that was announcer Adam Alexander calling out Joey Logano for his unathletic performance off the track.
Joey threw out the first pitch this week at the Kannapolis Cannonballers game. Lefty. I'm just going to say I'm really glad he's a good race car driver. I'm not trying to be mean. But the reality is he did not look comfortable on the mound.
And now have a look at what Alexander was talking about. As you can see in Logano's comment, just a bit outside. Even he knows it wasn't that great of a pitch. But as much as we can make fun of Logano for his lack of ability to throw a baseball, it still doesn't compare to Brad Keselowski's ability to play basketball. Take a look. I'm sorry, Brad K fans, but that clip makes me laugh really hard every single time. So it just goes to show you that these guys may not be athletes in other stick and ball sports, but they can sure as hell drive a race car. Moving on to Sunday, and there was big news finally confirming all the rumors we've been talking about for months. Ram is coming back into the Truck Series starting in 2026. I'm really excited to hear that, and I think it's great news for the sport having a fourth manufacturer, because it just adds some variety and it gives other drivers an opportunity to race for a competitive team. It sounds like the goal is obviously to get into the Cup Series maybe as early as 2027. What was also interesting is Adam Stern of the Sports Business Journal, as I mentioned in last Monday's recap on Nashville, brought up that Honda is seriously considering getting into NASCAR as well. So we could go from 3 manufacturers to 5 in a matter of years, and that would be so great for the sport. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. And now let's go to the race. Chase Briscoe started from the pole for a 3rd consecutive week and led for the first dozen laps before William Byron took the lead. Where have we heard that before? William Byron taking the lead and leading a bunch of laps. It's been a familiar theme in the last month. Through those first 30 laps, the biggest positive movers were Ryan Blaney and Carson Hocevar, while Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs, who both started inside the top 10, were heading in the opposite direction. On lap 35, Chris Buescher made his presence known when he took the lead from Byron. The RFK Racing driver led the rest of the way and went on to win his first stage of the year. He was followed by Byron, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and Josh Berry. After starting 8th and finishing 26th in that stage, Ty Gibbs was not happy about his car and let his team know about it during the stage break.
Be thinking about for this next run, playing with your speed trace. There may be some benefit to driving in a little deeper and keeping it on the right front and saving a little bit of right rear on exit.
Yeah, but I will fucking do that when it's tighter. Until then, I'm going to spin out, so it's not possible.
We'll see you in the lap, bud.
At the start of stage 2, I think you Chase Elliott fans had to be happy with what you saw when the number 9 driver was super aggressive at the drop of the green flag and surged out into the lead. Also of note early in that stage, Denny Hamlin got sideways going into turns 1 and 2, but Kyle Larson was not happy about how it affected him.
Look out the fucking windshield, Denny, instead of the fucking mirror.
There's more on this later. After no cautions for incidents in that first stage, as has been the case often this year, we had multiple cautions in the second stage, starting with a crash on lap 61 that involved Noah Gragson and John Hunter Nemechek. And then on the subsequent restart, Alex Bowman was involved in a massive nasty hit. Take a look and listen to his audio.
Watch him easy with it here. Still 3. Halfback 19. Trying to roll up. You all right, bro? That one was really fucking big.
After being released from the infield care center, Bowman admitted that that hit was P1 on his board for all-time hits. He finished last, and that result was just a continuation of the struggles for the number 48 team, which recorded its 7th finish of 27th or worse in the last 9 races. Ouch! After an 11-minute red flag delay, racing resumed for a few laps before Nemechek had his second moment of the day. Ryan Blaney joined the caution fest on lap 109 when he unexpectedly made a mistake and went for a spin all by himself. In a 9-lap sprint to the second stage in, Byron battled Austin Cindric and held off the Team Penske driver to win the stage. They were followed by Hocevar, Tyler Reddick, and Ross Chastain. Also worth noting, Ty Dillon finished 9th and Eric Jones finished 10th. Ty Dillon also made news during the stage break for this moment.
5, 4, 3, 2, on your sign. 9 green all the way. Blending off 2.
I think I just murdered a squirrel getting into my damn pit box.
Yes, you did. Mike screamed. I didn't know what the hell he was screaming at.
Yes, unfortunately, he hit a squirrel, which has us now at 2 animal incidents for the year. If you'll recall, there was a bird that met its demise earlier this year off the windshield of Josh Berry at Talladega. In the third and final stage, Hocevar found himself in a familiar position and living up to Ryan Blaney's complimentary words from the day before, as he was running second early in the third stage behind Byron. After a caution for a Todd Gilliland spin on lap 146, Hocevar took the lead from Kyle Larson and stayed out in front. But the question that grew louder and louder as the laps ticked off was, who had enough fuel to make it to the end? Hocevar's team knew they didn't have enough, but he wasn't alone. The same was true for those behind him, including Larson, William Byron, and Ty Gibbs. Unfortunately for the 22-year-old Spire driver, fuel strategy in the end didn't cost him the win. A flat left rear tire with 19 to go did. He finished 29th. It was then down to Byron, who assumed the lead, Larson, Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin, who had made his way through the field and was running 5th. The number 11 driver began pushing the pace and passed his JGR teammate in the number 54 before passing Larson. He then had one more in Byron. All I could think was, man, the 24 and 11 have been racing against each other a lot here in the last few weeks. With 4 laps to go, Hamlin made his move, passed Byron, and never looked back. With the victory, the 44-year-old earned his 3rd trophy of the season, tying him with Byron's teammate Kyle Larson and his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Christopher Bell with 3 wins apiece. While Hamlin was understandably happy with his result, Ty Gibbs was not. Take a listen to this exchange in the final laps when the 22-year-old driver didn't like his team's strategy of being conservative and saving fuel.
We need a top 5 here, bud. We need to make sure we have enough fuel to get to the end. Keep saving. Yeah, we're coming back 2 to go.
Million Brisket try to go in where fucking doesn't matter for top 5.
It does if those guys push each other hard enough to run themselves out of gas. Stick to what we're doing. 2 to go. Red switch. Red switch, copy.
Yeah. Red switch for 50% throttle.
And here's what he had to say moments after the race ended.
Way to stick with it. Good job, guys. I know that's hard, man. Really good job.
Fucking gave that away.
Hey, we didn't give him nothing today. We had a great day. We did what we needed to do. We got a top 5. Our other car won. It's about big picture, all right? Take this and build.
For those who didn't recognize that last voice in the conversation, that was JGR competition director Chris Gabehart getting stern with his young driver. A few minutes later, after his burnout, Gibbs' teammate and the race winner, who has truly embraced the villain role, did so again.
Obviously, he was doing a great job defending, but Daddy, I'm sorry, but I beat your favorite driver, folks.
I gotta ask, like Marty did, who's that?
All of them.
Following those remarks, a short time later on the Prime post-race show, Carl Edwards said this.
Apparently beat somebody's favorite driver in the stands. A mix of cheers and boos here at Michigan, Carl.
Yeah, first thing, Kyle Busch walked by. He goes, man, it's so fun when you can win and mess with the crowd. I mean, he's jealous of him.
Adding another layer of intrigue to Busch's remarks about being envious of Hamlin's ability to mess with the crowd, is Hamlin's win was also his 57th win at JGR, which makes him the winningest driver in the organization's history. And who did he pass? Kyle Busch. I also listened to the Sirius XM NASCAR post-race show, and Kyle Larson explained why he was so frustrated with Hamlin and another driver during the race.
Yeah, I just got frustrated a couple times. Denny did what Denny does, and just ran an angle around 1 and 2 like I was never outside of him, and ran us out of room, and so I was frustrated there. And then Ty Dillon was just mirror driving. We're all running 74th back there, and he was mirror driving me, then mirror drive Blaney, and I just got kind of fed up with it. So it just doesn't make sense to mirror drive at a place like this. Like we can all benefit from each other if we can just work together when we're in a line like that. But I don't know. So yeah, that was frustrating.
And lastly, remember Ty being so unhappy with the team's strategy call? Here's what he had to say about it in his post-race interview.
Did you have to save fuel there at the end?
Yes, unfortunately we had to save fuel, and I was told to save more, so I would have loved to risk it to go in, but it's not what I was told.
How did it feel just to be able to contend today?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. We had a shot to go in, so it's just unfortunate.
You had a second top 5 of the season, but this is a building block for the number 54 team.
I think a building block would be winning, for sure.
You really think it has to be that big to make the next step?
We had the opportunity to do it, and we didn't do it, so just unfortunate.
Easy to say you're disappointed?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I put a lot of work in this. We all do, so it's just unfortunate.
And here's what his mom and JGR co-owner, Heather Gibbs, had to say about it.
Being a mother, it's tough to see your son so disappointed after a third-place finish, but what kind of encouragement can you offer after getting his second top 5 of the season?
Well, I think, it's where they should be up there, the team, and putting everything together. And I mean, Ty was raised tough, and he wants it, and he's not satisfied. His siblings are the same way, and they want to be the best that they can be. And I think he'll be able to take a moment and enjoy it, and just where we've been all this year and the struggle that they've had a lot of speed and just couldn't capitalize on the end. So I think he'll take a moment and realize what a blessing it really is to finish top 5.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode. We talked about a lot, and I want to hear what you thought. Let's start with driver media availabilities. What do you think of Carson Hocevar's aggressive driving, and more specifically, some fans calling him the new Intimidator? And what about Bubba Wallace's exchange with reporters? Do you think Bob Hockrath pushed it too far? As for Sunday, what are your thoughts on the big news that Ram is coming back to NASCAR in the Truck Series in 2026? And as far as the race is concerned, tell me what you thought about the overall racing product, if you enjoyed it, and what you thought of the fuel strategy ending to the race. What did you think of Ty Gibbs' attitude at the end and Chris Gabehart coming on the team radio to talk with his driver and giving him some perspective? Thanks again for checking out the latest video and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and hope you have a great rest of your day.